I got a call in the middle of COVID. My son-in-law had been laid off and the family needed a place to stay. The standard retirement advice would have told me to sell that space years earlier. I'm glad I didn't. Because here's the truth about the biggest financial decision that most people face going into retirement. What do you do with your home? The standard advice is only looking at one side of it. If you're over 60 and you own a home, your house is either your greatest retirement asset or it's the thing that quietly is trapping your money. And a lot of people won't know which one it is until it is too late to change it. There are 4 paths here. Pay it off, keep the mortgage, downsize, or rent. In one calculation most people never run that changes the entire decision. We're going to cover all of it on this video. Here's what makes this decision genuinely hard. It's not the math. The math itself, it's actually the easy part. What makes it hard is that your home isn't just a financial instrument. It's the physical infrastructure of your entire life. And in retirement, that infrastructure has to do things that a balance sheet cannot predict. When my adult children needed to come home, it wasn't a financial decision. It was a family one. But it had financial consequences in a home that was large enough to absorb that moment. You know, it's a form of insurance, but it never appears on any statement that you've ever received. The standard advice says unlock your equity, right-size your home, free up capital, invest the cash. That advice doesn't price in what you might need that space to do 5 years from now. And the advice that says just pay it off and stay put, that doesn't ask whether this specific house is actually built for the body you're going to have at 78. Both sides are looking at just one part of the picture. We're going to look at all of it. I want you to picture something. It's 10 years from now. You're 73, maybe 75. You wake up one morning and the stairs feel a little different than they did back at 63. The bathroom, it doesn't have a grab bar. The master bedroom is on the second floor. The question, it isn't whether you love this house. The question is whether this house was designed for the body you have now. Aging in place is not a given. It's a design decision. And for many homes, it requires real investment. Grab bars, walk-in showers, single floor access, wider doorways. And depending on your home, that renovation budget, it's going to run $18,000 to $80,000 or maybe even more. That number, it belongs in your calculation. But here's the comparison most people never make. The median cost of assisted living in the United States today is between $4,500 and $6,000 a month. That's $54,000 to $72,000 every year over a 5-year stay. That's $270,000 to $360,000. Now what happens? That $50,000 renovation, it looks entirely differently. It's not an expense now. It's an insurance premium against a liability that costs 5 to 7 times as much. A home that keeps you independent for 5 additional years may be the absolute best financial decision that you're ever going to make. And one more thing about your current home. It's not going to appear on any balance sheet any financial advisor is going to show you. What about the neighbors? The community you've built up over 20 years, the people, they're going to notice if you don't pick up your mail. That doesn't transfer when you move. Social connection in your older age, it's not a lifestyle benefit. It's a health outcome. Research shows that isolation accelerates your cognitive decline and, unfortunately, your physical deterioration. That neighborhood, it may be more valuable than you realize. Now, let's run the numbers. Here's the case for paying off your mortgage before retirement. That math is, like I say, pretty straightforward. Every dollar of fixed monthly obligation is a dollar your portfolio has to produce, regardless of what the market is doing. Lower fixed expenses mean a lower required withdrawal rate. So a lower withdrawal rate is the most durable thing you can build into your retirement plan. There's also a risk that most people entirely underestimate. Research shows that a major market downturn in the first 2 years of retirement can permanently damage a portfolio. If you're withdrawing to cover a mortgage payment while the market is down, let's call it 30%, you're selling assets at a loss to service a fixed expense. A paid off house eliminates that risk. The case for keeping the mortgage, look, it's also real. If your rate is below 4%, and if you can reliably earn, let's call it 6 to 7% after taxes, the math can favor investing, especially inside a Roth account where there's no capital gains tax. But that math only holds if you stay invested when the market drops. A lot of people discover they just can't do that when a mortgage payment is due on the 1st. Peace of mind from zero debt protects you from the most expensive mistake in investing, and that's selling at the bottom. Look, everything we've covered so far requires one thing. It requires a clear picture of what your retirement actually looks like on paper, not roughly, specifically. So for that reason, I built a one-page tool that walks you through exactly that. Look, drop your email over at brainflash.com. It comes straight to your inbox. It's free of charge. Now, let's talk about how do you unlock what you've built. The median home equity for Americans between 60 and 65 is over $200,000. For many viewers watching this, it's considerably more. That equity is your largest single asset on that balance sheet. And in most cases, it sits completely still. It's not compounding, it's not generating income, it's sitting inside a building waiting. Here's a realistic version of that downsize math. Okay, here's some math. Let's call it your home is worth $650,000. You owe $150,000. You sell. After selling costs of roughly, let's call it $40,000, you walk away with $460,000. You buy a smaller home, $300,000 cash. You now have $160,000 left to invest. Let's see if you can get a conservative 6% annual return. That's $9,600 a year, roughly $800 a month, on top of Social Security, on top of your portfolio withdrawals, and guess what? No mortgage payment. Lower property taxes, lower insurance, lower maintenance. That's not a downgrade. That's a different retirement entirely. Now, before you call your real estate agent, remember what I said at the beginning. The home that feels too big today may be exactly the right size in 3 years. Space, it gives you options, and options have value. You can't always see in advance what you'll need it for. Run the equity math and then ask yourself honestly what you might be foreclosing on. Now, let's talk about renting. I want to tell you about someone, a widow. She sold a $700,000 home and she invested the proceeds. She moved into a rental apartment 10 minutes from her daughter. She's never mowed another lawn. No maintenance calls, no property tax bill, no repair surprises, and her capital is working. Now, renting, it's not right for everyone. Rent increases, no equity building up, it doesn't feel very permanent. But here's the question that most people just kind of skip over. You got to live somewhere. The question isn't whether renting costs money. The question is whether owning costs more when you add mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the opportunity cost of that locked up equity. For some people in some markets, That math is closer than they expect. Look, I want to ask you something directly, not about your rate, not about your equity, about you. When you picture the version of retirement where you actually feel at ease, what does the home look like in that picture? Is it yours, fully and completely, with nothing owed to anyone? Or is it whatever keeps your options open and your money working? Because there are two real orientations to this decision. Neither one's wrong. Some people need zero fixed obligations to feel free, confident. For them, a paid off home is a permission just to breathe and relax. The math might favor keeping the mortgage, but zero debt gives them more control over their retirement income than any investment return could. They sleep better, they stay invested longer, they don't panic sell when the market drops because there's no payment due on the first. That is a financial advantage. It just doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. Other people, they feel more secure when their capital is working and working hard. For them, locking equity into a building, it feels like a waste. Liquidity to them, it's security. Options, like I said, are freedom. Neither one's a mistake. But you have to know which one you actually are, not which one sounds smarter from somebody online. Because a plan that mathematically is optimal, but psychologically unsustainable, it's not a good plan. It's a plan that you're going to absolutely abandon at the worst possible moment. Here's what I want you to hold on to and think about. The future, it's uncertain for all of us. It always has been. Your adult children may need you in ways you can't even predict right now. Your own personal health trajectory, it's unknown. The right answer at 62 may look different at 70. None of that means you can't make a good decision. It means the goal isn't certainty, it's clarity. And now you've got the calculation most people never run. The one that compares your home to the cost of needing care too soon. You have the equity math with honest numbers. You've got 4 paths, not one, and you have the question that only you can answer. A decision made with the complete picture, even in the face of an uncertain future. That's a decision you can own. And a decision that you can own, that's one you can stand behind. Look, if looking at retirement this way is helpful, would you subscribe and would you please send this video to someone else that you know who's thinking through evaluating rolling retirement options around in their head? This is Brain Flash.